Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to picture something for me. Just close your eyes for a second. You're in a living room. It's the 1970s.
Uh-huh.
You tune into one of the biggest shows on the planet, and there he is, a hairy, broad-shouldered soldier chomping on a cigar. But he's wearing a floral dress and a pillbox hat.
Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger from Ames. I mean, that image is absolutely burned into the collective pop culture retina.
You can't unsee it.
You really can't.
He's the ultimate visual gag, the guy trying to get a Section 8 discharge just so he can go home. But here's the twist, and this is really why I wanted to dive into this particular biography.
Right.
The man inside the dress, Jamie Farr. His real story is like 1,000 times more interesting. Before he ever put on that dress, this guy was a chinchilla rancher.
Wait, a chinchilla rancher? For
A
real?
literal chinchilla rancher. He was also a delivery boy, a post office clerk, and he spent 17 years, nearly 2 decades, grinding it out as a struggling actor.
And that context, it changes everything about how you watch the character. Because this deep dive, it's not just a biography. We're using a book by J.P. Ames called Jamie Farr Before MASH, already a star, to do like a forensic investigation into the grind.
Into survival, really.
Exactly. We're trying to figure out how a kid from a neighborhood called Little Syria in Toledo, Ohio, actually survived the Hollywood machine. Because it wasn't a straight line. It was built on this hidden network of connections, one huge act of kindness from a grieving comedian, and a job that was only supposed to last for one day.
So let's start at the very beginning, because usually you hear Hollywood success, you think of someone getting discovered at a soda shop or something.
Yeah, that whole fancy.
But Jamie Farr starts in Toledo, Ohio in 1934.
Right. Born Jamil Joseph Farah. And where he's from, it's just so crucial to understanding who he was. He grows up in Little Syria, which is this classic, tight-knit immigrant neighborhood.
So very blue collar.
Oh, extremely. His dad, Samuel, was a grocer. His mom, Jamelia, was a seamstress. The center of their universe was the church. It's a world where work ethic isn't just a habit, it's everything.
But young Jamil, he wasn't going to be a grocer.
No. He caught the acting bug early. At 11, he enters a local talent contest.
And he wins.
He wins. But get this, the prize was $2.
$2? That's not exactly life-changing.
Well, in 1945, it was some decent pocket money. But the source makes a great point here. It wasn't the $2. It was the applause. That was the drug. Once he felt that, he was hooked. But to get from Toledo to Hollywood, you have to look at his high school, Woodward High.
Okay, this is one of those coincidences that if you wrote it in a movie, people would say it's too convenient.
It really is, because another person who went to Woodward High was Danny Thomas.
The Danny Thomas.
Yeah.
The TV superstar, founder of St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Also a Lebanese kid from Toledo, and that's our first big insight into the grind. In that era, having a mentor from your background was a lifeline. Danny Thomas was proof that a kid from Little Syria could actually make it.
It's the importance of seeing yourself represented before that was even a phrase people used.
Exactly. So Jamil, who later becomes Jamie, heads to California in 1952. He enrolls in the Pasadena Playhouse.
Which was a big deal then. The Star Factory, they called it.
Totally. We're talking Gene Hackman, Dustin Hoffman, and Jamie, on paper, succeeds right away. An MGM scout sees him and casts him in Blackboard Jungle in 1955.
Okay, let's pause there. Blackboard Jungle wasn't just some movie. That thing was a cultural earthquake.
Massive. It introduced rock around the clock to the entire world. It basically invented the teenager in cinema.
It caused riots in theater.
It did. And Jamie plays Santini, a student in the film. So you're 21, you're in this explosive movie, you think your career's made.
Yeah, limos and mansions from here on out.
But that's the Hollywood lie. The movie exploded, but Jamie Farr got no screen credit. People might recognize the face, but nobody knew the name. The phone just didn't ring.
And this is where we get to the chinchillas.
Back to reality. This is what it's really like to be a working actor. Between 55 and 57, he's not signing autographs. He is literally cleaning cages at a chinchilla ranch.
Wow.
He's clerking at a post office, working at an army surplus store, just surviving. And then, just as he's starting to get a little bit of momentum again, Uncle Sam comes knocking.
The draft, 1957.
Yep. So now he's Private Jamil Farah.
But the Army actually looked at his resume, which is surprising. They didn't just hand him a rifle.
No, thankfully, they made him a broadcast specialist. He starts out making training films in Queens, New York, but eventually he gets shipped out to the Far East Network in Korea and Japan.
So he's in Korea, he's doing radio,
Yeah.
but he's also pulling KP duty, kitchen patrol.
Scrubbing pots and pans. And this is where I think the most unbelievable story of his entire life begins. He's miserable, so he does something really audacious. He writes a letter to Red Skelton, the comedy legend he'd worked for briefly, and he just complains, vents about the kitchen work.
He probably didn't expect a reply. Skelton was one of the biggest stars in the world.
No way. But you have to understand where Red Skelton was mentally at that exact moment.
What was going on?
In 1958, his 9-year-old son, Richard, had just died of leukemia.
Oh, man, that's just devastating.
Skelton was completely shattered, and his way of dealing with the grief was to work. He decided to tour military bases to make the troops laugh. And while planning that tour, he remembered this funny letter from the kid with the big nose complaining about KP duty.
So he specifically requests Jamie.
He requested Private Farah as his personal assistant for the whole tour. They flew around on a UN plane together, and Jamie watched this grieving father turn his private pain into public comedy for thousands of soldiers.
That's a heavy thing to witness.
It creates this unbreakable bond, and that bond comes to a head when they get back to the States in '59. Jamie's service is over, but then his own family is hit by tragedy. His father passes away.
And as the only son, he has to quit acting and go home.
He tells Red Skelton, "I'm done. I have to go support my mother." He was ready to pack it all in.
And this is the miracle moment.
It is. Red Skelton doesn't even hesitate. He pulls out a huge stack of $100 bills, hands them to Jamie, and says, "Send this to your mother." And then he says, "And I'm hiring you as a writer. You're not quitting."
Wow. It gives you chills.
It saved his career. Without that moment, Jamie Farr becomes a grocer in Toledo. Period. Maxwell Klinger never happens.
So he stays in the game. But from 1959 to 1972, this is the grind.
Yeah, this is the utility player era. He wasn't a star. He was the guy you called when you needed a specific bit.
Like on the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Right. He played Timmy and Charlie, the delivery boy. It was like 4 episodes, maybe 20 lines total. But think about who's on that set. Carl Reiner. And the director, John Rich.
Who ends up directing the MSH pilot?
Exactly. Every small job was a seed being planted. But there's another story from this time it's almost supernatural. In 1962, he's desperate for work again. He goes to a church and prays to St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless causes.
Danny Thomas's saint.
The very same. And days later, he gets cast in this massive biblical movie, The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Oh, tell me.
He's cast as the Apostle Thaddeus, who is also known as St. Jude.
He prayed to St. Jude and got cast as St. Jude. That's unbelievable.
It sounds like folklore, but it's true.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the one role that directly unlocked MSH, it was a much sillier part. On a show called F Troop.
The Civil War comedy, right?
He played a character called Stand-Up Bull, a Native American stand-up comic.
Okay, that sounds very 1960s.
A definite product of its time. But the director of that episode was a guy named Gene Reynolds. And Gene Reynolds saw Jamie Farr do comedy in an ethnic role, saw his timing, and just filed that away. 7 years later, Gene Reynolds is the producer of MSH.
And that leads us to October 1972. Jamie is 38, he's broke, has a mortgage, and he gets a call for one day of work.
For $250.
He walks into his trailer, and instead of a regular uniform, he sees a WAC, a Women's Army uniform. He thinks it's a mistake.
He literally told them, "You've got me in the wrong trailer." But Gene Reynolds, there's that name again, tells him, "No, you're Corporal Klinger. You wear dresses to try to get a Section 8.
And now this is where the source really pays off. Because the Klinger we all know and love almost didn't happen. The director's initial instruction was very different.
Oh, yeah. The first direction was to play it campy. Effeminate, swishy, basically a 1970s gay joke. And Jamie tried it, but then he and the head writer, Larry Gelbart, they pulled aside. They knew if Klinger is just a stereotype, it's a one-note joke.
It's funny once, then it's just annoying.
And offensive. So they pivoted. Right there, on the fly, they decided to play him straight.
Which sounds like a contradiction for a guy in a dress.
But it was genius. Jamie decided to play Klinger as a totally sane, masculine guy who is just desperate. He's not wearing the dress because he likes it. He's wearing it to go home. He chomps on that cigar with the same seriousness as a combat helmet.
And that's what makes it funny. The juxtaposition.
It saved the character. And speaking of reality, there's a detail about the costume that blew me mind. The dog tags.
Oh, yeah. Tell this part.
The dog tags Klinger wears over his gowns. Those were Jamie Farr's actual dog tags from his service in Korea in 1957.
He was the only cast member who really served in Korea, wasn't he?
The only one. So when you see Klinger complaining about KP duty, that's not just acting. That's Jamie Farr remembering what it was really like.
That adds a whole other layer. So he nails the job. But the studio doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet.
Not at all. This is the business side of the grind. For 3 full seasons, they kept him as a guest star. They paid him $250 an episode.
Even as he was becoming a huge fan favorite.
It's just business. If they promoted him, they'd have to give him a real salary. It wasn't until season 4, 1975, that he finally got a contract and his name in the credits. He basically had to become so popular they couldn't afford to lose him.
And the character eventually grows up. He stops wearing the dresses.
He does. He takes over for Radar as the company clerk. And Jamie wanted to drop the dress for a couple of reasons. 1, he felt the joke had run its course. But 2, and this is the dad in him, his own kids were getting teased about it at school.
Wow, that's real life bleeding into the show.
Yeah. And it allowed Klinger to become this really competent, three-dimensional character. He wasn't just the clown anymore.
Okay, we have to talk about the finale. Goodbye, farewell, and amen.
The single most watched scripted TV episode in American history. 121.6 million people.
Just an insane number. The war is over. Everyone's going home.
Yeah.
But Klinger, he stays.
The ultimate irony, right? The man who spent 11 years trying to leave Korea is the one who chooses to stay.
And the source says that was Jamie's idea.
It was. He pitched it to the writers. He said that in real life, a lot of GIs stayed. They found love. And that's what happens to Klinger. He finds a home he never expected.
It's a beautiful end for him. And in the end, Jamie Farr outlasted some of the bigger stars who left the show early. He did 256 episodes.
Just pure persistence. He did the work.
So after the 77th, there was that spinoff after MASH H.
Which, yeah, we don't need to spend much time on it. It got crushed in the ratings by the A-Team. It's a footnote. But Jamie didn't vanish.
No, he became the king of game shows. Hollywood Squares, The Gong Show. You just got the sense he was a genuinely fun guy.
Totally. His likability was his currency. But I think his real legacy goes back to where he started, Toledo.
The golf tournament.
For 28 years, he hosted an LPGA tournament that raised $14 million for children's charities. There's a park named after him in Toledo. He never forgot where he came from.
And he even made it to Broadway.
At age 60, he called himself a late bloomer, which is just amazing after being on the biggest show in TV history.
It really is. So to wrap this up, what's the big takeaway from this whole journey?
For me, it's that luck is something you build. It looks like luck, but it wasn't. It was the connection to Danny Thomas, the kindness from Red Skelton, the impression he made on Gene Reynolds on some silly sitcom. He built a safety net out of good work and being a good guy.
He stayed ready. So when the call for that one-day $250 job came, he showed up.
He showed up, and he brought his own dog tags with him.
There's this great quote from his wife, Joy. She told him, "Jamie, you are one lucky son of a bitch."
And Jamie's response is the perfect end to this story. He said, "I worked my ass off to be lucky."
That says it all. You make your own luck by surviving.
You do. And here's a final thought. The next time you're watching a MASH rerun and you see Klinger in some ridiculous gown, look at those dog tags around his neck. They were real. The frustration was real. The character worked because the actor had lived the grind.
A fantastic story. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.